Right now, congressional showdown. Congresswoman Julie Johnson and former Congressman Colin Allred are in the home stretch of the Democratic primary runoff for the 33rd Congressional District in Dallas County. We're looking at one issue that has the candidates on the attack. Looming decision. The U.S. Supreme Court decides what's next in the fight over the abortion pill mifepristone. Will patients nationwide still be able to get the medication in the mail after a telehealth visit? And political pressure. Grand Prairie scraps a planned event advertised by some as Muslims only at the city-owned water park, while Governor Abbott threatened that had local leaders changing course. Good Sunday morning to you. I'm Jack Fink. Get your fix for Texas politics. Eye on Politics on CBS News Texas starts now. Hello and welcome to Eye on Politics and what I think is one of the most important days of the year. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms. We're going to start with the congressional showdown between Julie Johnson and Colin Allred later this month in the Democratic primary runoff for the 33rd District, a newly drawn district this year approved by Republicans that is now only in Dallas County. Allred, the former congressman, came in first during the March 3rd primary with nearly 44%, and Johnson, who succeeded him on Capitol Hill, came in second with more than 33%. Allred and Johnson are blasting each other's records, particularly when it comes to ICE. We're going to begin with our interview with Allred, and we asked what his biggest contrasts are with Johnson.
For 6 years in Congress, I could have traded stock. It was legal, but I thought it was unethical. Julie Johnson has been one of the top stock traders in the entire Congress. She's traded over $4 million worth of stock, including on issues that are in front of the Congress, and she's benefited and profited from some of the companies that I think are contributing to some of the violations of civil rights around us every day. It's like Palantir, a company that she bought stock in when she was right after she was sworn in, sold it a few months later. Palantir is used by ICE in their mass surveillance efforts. It's part of this mass deportation effort. If you say you're going to stand up to this administration, you can't also be profiting from it.
Regarding ICE, she has criticized your past votes in 2024 when you voted for the No Sanctuary Cities Act and then the Lake and Riley Act. What do you say to that?
Yeah, I say that this was under President Joe Biden and a very different ICE, a very different Homeland Security Department, one that was, I think, conducting itself largely consistent with the law and the Constitution. Unfortunately, that is just not where we are now. This administration has turned ICE into a political tool to attack its enemies. It's also been using it to terrorize communities. The stories that people tell me on a weekly basis of their experience with ICE are heartbreaking. And to me, this is diminishing faith in our entire government, but also specifically in law enforcement. And it's dangerous what they're doing. It's making all of us less safe. It's the exact opposite of what we should be doing. I've put out a plan to say that we're going to start over with ICE. We have to get rid of this agency.
So you want to abolish it?
I think we have to move on from it because this is something that I cannot tell you with any confidence that after 12,000 agents have been hired in the last year by this administration, after their training time has been cut from 5 months to 6 weeks, after they've been going out there in communities with masks on, covering up their names, violating civil rights, that I'm going to be able to reel that back in. To me, that's not going to be something we can do. To give people confidence in law enforcement again, I think we have to start over.
Now, that's a new position since you and I last spoke. What was the spark that changed that?
Yeah, I think for me, as I was looking at my immigration plan, I had 3 pillars to it. 1, I wanted to change how immigration enforcement was conducted. 2, I wanted to hold bad actors accountable, private companies in particular that are profiting off of this mass deportation agenda. And 3, I wanted to put forward a plan to how to fix our broken legal immigration system. And as I was going through how we could change the enforcement and our domestic enforcement of immigration, I was looking at this agency, I was thinking there's just no way that this can just be fixed. And there are stories that I've heard that have driven home for me the fact that the confidence in this agency is completely gone, that the American people have no trust that this agency will conduct itself consistent with the Constitution or the law, and it's for good reason. I heard a story from a young woman who was detained for 30 hours by ICE, even though she had her passport, her social security card, her driver's license. She was an American citizen. She was kept overnight. She was handcuffed, and it was all because of a mistake on her birth certificate. That's not who we are. We can't be conducting ourselves that way.
So what is your solution to the higher costs? I mean, if you get into Congress, what are your proposals?
Yeah. And I put forward, a plan around this, and I think I think back to my life growing up here in Dallas and the pinch points that my mom and I experienced that I know we can help with. One of those is purchasing a new home. My mom rented a house for 20 years. She couldn't afford the down payment on her house. She could afford the mortgage. It wasn't until I was in the NFL that I could help her buy that house. Helping first-time home buyers with down payment assistance can help you get into a home and help you start building wealth. Child care is an enormous cost for most people. My mom would leave me with any wise woman basically around the neighborhood because she needed to have child care. But for most families right now, this is consuming a huge amount of their budget. We can help with the cost of child care. Higher education, of course, is too expensive. But the biggest one that many people experience at some point or another is health care. And what we've seen this administration and this Congress do is take health care away and make health care costs higher. I would do the exact opposite.
Some Democrats have said that if they retake the House in January, they want to impeach President Trump again. Do you agree with that?
I've always taken impeachment very seriously. And as you probably know, I had 2 impeachment votes during my time in Congress, and I think in both cases it was warranted. When the president tried to withhold funding and missiles for Ukraine to try and dig up dirt on Joe Biden, that was something that was a violation of the Constitution. Certainly after January 6th, that was incredibly warranted, and I think he should have been convicted and never allowed to run for office again. But what I always look at is your conduct now, and I think on policy differences, that impeachment is not a tool to address policy differences. That should go to the voters and to debate, right? But if there are crimes and misdemeanors and high crimes and misdemeanors that are occurring, then I think they have to be looked at.
Now our interview with Johnson, and we asked what her biggest contrasts are with Allred.
He voted with ICE multiple occasions. I've consistently been against that. And that, given the time that we're in this country with immigration and his policies on that regard, that's an issue that's really resonating with a lot of folks. It's long been the law of the land in this country that if you commit a crime, that you can be deported. We can revoke your permission to be here. And I fully support that. But what I don't support is eroding our due process, eroding our constitutional protections. What Republicans have been doing is saying, you know what, a conviction is no longer necessary, an allegation is enough. And so this concept that we all grew up with, innocent before proven guilty, that doesn't work in Colin Allred's world. So he voted for that because he took a hard right turn when he was running for the Senate. He voted, and I voted against that. And that is really significant to our Latino communities and our immigrant communities who are really fearful of what ICE is doing to them and their families. And secondly, it's about sanctuary cities. Dallas police can make their decisions of they want to enter into a 287G cooperation agreement with ICE. They've not done that. Colin Allred was only one of 12 Democrats to vote to allow, governments to punish these cities. And what we just saw recently this past week, right? Greg Abbott threatening to withhold hundreds of millions of dollars to Houston and Dallas to strong arm these police departments into doing this. And then Colin Allred supported that, so I am against that. And I think that that's a clear marker difference between us and our actual voting records that I think voters are really resonating towards.
As you know, Allred has criticized your prior stock sales that included Palantir, which works with ICE. And so I'm wondering, what do you say to that? And do you think that hurt you the first time around on March 3rd?
Hard to know. What I say to that is it's a false argument. Everyone knows I've had independent money managers. I immediately sold the Palantir stock when I became aware that we had it, and I made $90 on it. His representations that are absolutely false. He's lied about the whole process because he doesn't have a record to run on. He was in Congress for 6 years when we had a Democratic trifecta, a Democratic House, a Democratic Senate, and a Democratic president, and he couldn't pass anything. Was not effective during his time there. Otherwise, he would be touting all of these things that he achieved, that he accomplished while he was in Congress, and he didn't. All he could do is make a false manufactured claim against me because he doesn't have a positive record of his own.
Do you think ICE should be abolished, as some Democrats believe?
I have consistently voted for defunding ICE. I think the program, we need customs enforcement and immigration in this country. You can't just have no immigration policy. But I think ICE needs to be completely brought down to the beginnings and rebuilt into what it should be, which is a responsible immigration enforcement agency. Its current form, its current leadership, I do not support. I have voted against funding them every single time.
So let's talk about some of your other priorities.
Affordability is a key issue. Housing access is an important issue here in Dallas-Fort Worth. We're the fastest growing metropolitan area in the country. Housing is a real issue. I've talked to so many people who would like to be able to experience home ownership. So I have legislation designed to do just that, to make it possible. You know, it doesn't make any sense. You can pay your rent on time. You don't develop a credit rating and a history based on that under current law. So I have a simple bill just to allow renters to develop credit so that they can qualify for a mortgage. If you can demonstrate that you can pay, you know, $1,500 a month in rent, that should be an example that you can pay a $1,500 mortgage payment. So addressing that, raising the minimum wage, we have to address that. Healthcare access. You know, we lead the nation in uninsured people. We lead the nation in Black maternal mortality. We have got to address the healthcare crisis that we're facing here.
Some Democrats have said if they retake the House in January, that they want to impeach President Trump. Do you agree that that should be part of the Democrats' agenda?
I think it certainly needs to be on the table. I think he has recklessly endangered this country. His unhinged tweets about annihilating the entire country of humanity of Iran was so unhinged and irresponsible. What he's done with ICE and completely assaulting the constitutional protections of people in this country is outrageous. How he's handled the tariffs, the economy, he's consistently struck down. I think he's been I think he's really derelicted his duty as commander-in-chief, and yes, I think that's something we should consider.
Early voting begins 1 week from tomorrow, Monday, May 18th, and it lasts for 5 days only, ending on Friday, May 22nd. Election Day is Tuesday, May 26th. Coming up next, the abortion issue is back at the U.S. Supreme Court with one or more justices set to weigh in on the medication mifepristone. We spoke with lawmakers about the impact on Texas women when Eye on Politics on CBS News Texas returns.